Now, when we engage in spiritual practice, often we do things like meditation or going to a retreat, silent retreat. And the main objective of spiritual practice that I see out there is to begin letting go of the mind. So you sort of enter into this field above, beyond the mind to transcend. Then in that state of being, there's no thought. And people feel expansive, people feel connected, people feel one. And that's how many people I see seeking and searching and experiencing spiritual dimension of life. Now, when we go to this sort of psychology, positive thoughts, the power of positive thoughts, and many people are aware of the power of the thoughts and even the influence of the thoughts to our health and the body. And what I have found over the years is that I still see a little bit of the distance and gap between how people practice spiritual stuff and people read books or have different mindfulness practices to begin shifting that type of thoughts. So what I would like to do in this video is to actually bridge that gap between the two fields that I'm seeing and to explain clearly what positive thoughts mean from a spiritual point of view. So something that we must discuss in this context is that, okay, we want to have this spiritual experience, and to be able to feel serene, to be able to feel peaceful, to be able to access the stillness inside of us, to feel one with the whole. And I often, when I lead and guide meditation, I talk about the place inside of you, the stillness inside of you contains the sound called silence. And silence, for most people, is no sound, and it feels like nothing. But it feels nothing when you are focusing on the five sensory world. Because there's no sound, it feels nothing. But then when that nothingness shifts into the fullness, by tapping into the spiritual language, the way in which communicate, you start experiencing the fullness, expansiveness, and the continuousness of being one with that present moment. So that's how people, do meditation and go to that place, right? Now, what we wanna understand is that, okay, it's okay to go there, right? There's nothing wrong with it, and it's a great practice. However, on a day-to-day basis, in our day-to-day life, we are gonna need to use our thinking to function, right? Now, thoughts are a product of the mind. So one thing that we must understand is that we are not the mind. Therefore, thoughts are not us. It's just the energy information that flow to and through us, right? And a lot of the words and the thoughts that we entertain in our mind consist a lot of stories, especially false stories that are not us, that was ingrained in our childhood upbringing, or anything that we experienced in the past that we perceive back then at the level of awareness that we were in, and we created some image of us, we created some feeling about us, that we started to see ourselves as such a person, and then we start creating an internal dialogue based on that. So none of those are actually us. So what I often see, and if you have been in my energy, you have heard me saying we are spiritual being living in this physical body, which is the vehicle, and we're gifted with the psycho-emotional mind. So the mind is a tool, and the thought belongs to the dimension of the mind. So, but we want to be able to address the thought, because we cannot do things or function in this 3D physical life experience without the thoughts. So the way that I see that many people are living is that they have not, it almost feels like they have not been fully integrated their spiritual interest and the practice of connecting with that source, oneness, becoming one with creator. That's another way to explain it. and how to maneuver through life and how to navigate and guide our moment to moment thinking. Yeah, everybody knows that positive thoughts are healthier than negative thoughts. Everybody knows that positive thinking, expansive thoughts, empowering thoughts, we want to be in that energy all the time because it gives us a sense of living, it gives us a sense of lightness, and expansive thoughts allows us to feel expansive. Positive thought makes us feel lighter because those thoughts that we entertain gives us the molecular expansion per se inside of us that allows us to feel lighter, right? So I don't want to go too much in detail in that, but if you are interested in how that works, what I just said, the molecular level, it works with the water inside of us. There's someone named Masaru Emoto, who is actually Japanese, who did a study on how the positive thinking impact our water inside of us that changes the quality shape of the crystal inside of us. And even we can influence that. Let's say I have this shaker, I have water inside, and if I entertain a positive thoughts and emotion, and when I express that energy, the water inside of me, in front of me, changes the crystal shape at the molecular level. So you can Google, he has a book called, I think something along the line of Hidden Crystal of Water or something, right? So the body consists of water, right? And depending on what type of thoughts we think, let's just use the language of Emoto Masaru, the crystal inside of the molecules of water becomes much more brighter. It looks like the crystal of the water looks like mandala, yeah, mandala, and it's bright. It's like flower, and it's blossoming, and it's happy basically. So that's almost like a scientific explanation of how the positive thoughts impact our health and the body. But here, what I want to do is, okay, how do we connect this spiritual practice into the positive thinking? I don't want people to practice these two separate things, right? And go back and forth. So what we must understand is the relationship between the physical world, the psycho-emotional mind, and the spiritual realm. So let's kind of imagine three dimensions. Right here on your left side, you have the 3D physical world, and in the middle you have this 4D psycho-emotional plane, and in 5D on your right side you have this fifth dimensional spiritual plane. Now everything in this spiritual plane is already perfect. There's nothing that's lacking. Yeah, nothing that's lacking. The only lack that exists is in the physical world. Because the physical world is a place of relativity, relative realm. So there's going to be abundance and lack, darkness and brightness, pleasure and pain. You can look at that as the opposite thing, but those are relative, right? So for instance, if I have this shaker, because I have the shape of the shaker, I see the water half full, right? This is all relative. I have the shaker on your left side, but left side relative to the right side, right? So this physical realm that contains space and time operates that way. But the fifth dimensional spiritual plane it's being said that it's the realm of absolute. So there's no separation of difference. I like the analogy of, imagine that you enter into a room, and then once you open the room, the inside of the room is all white, right? And then when you close the door and then turn around, there's no separation between the door and the wall. There's no separation between the ceiling and the floor, left and right. And then you start losing track of where you're at. You cannot see the distance, you cannot see the dimension, and it's all white. It's gonna feel like that when you are in the fifth dimensional spiritual plane that is absolute. You cannot even have an experience, by the way. So, but that dimension is all that we're seeking. So happiness, freedom, love, ease, peace, sense of freedom, everything that we're seeking through the attainment of something, having, or the attainment of doing in this physical world is already existing in the spiritual plane. So when we begin understanding who we are, which is we're a spiritual being, and then what is the role and the meaning of this 3D physical world? We're here to experience. We're here to forget who we are so that we can remember. We're here to experience pain and unhappiness and resistance so we can lean into the opposite, so we can experience not having, so we can identify what is it that we want and align with already having. So we want to be able to really anchor who we are and not to get distracted by the 3D physical plane. When you get distracted by the 3D physical world, you will always be in the sense of lack. You will always be in the sense of lack, because that's how the biology is wired. The biology is wired to focus on what you do not have, so you can stay alerted to that sense of fear, right? But what we really want to do to become the creator is to understand that that is a part of this life on earth, and to begin shifting the way in which we perceive how we live in this earth plane. So you encounter lack, something that you want and you don't have it, right? And then you don't entertain that energy, but you use that in order to connect deeper with what you want. And in manifestation, once you want it, you want to stop wanting it, because as long as you're in the energy of wanting, you're telling yourself that you do not have it. So you're in a state of lack. So if you're newer to manifestation, this is very important, right? So you look at the world and then you have a desire and then you start seeing what you don't have. Do not let that impact emotionally, but neutralize it. And then identify the opposite, because what you want is always the opposite of what you don't want. So you identify the wanting, and the wanting is there because you don't have it, right? So wanting is always going to be there when you identify what you don't have. But we want to practice creating a little space and distance to not to let that lack thereof impact our feeling inside. Then the superpower that we humans have is to go to our imagination, to be able to fulfill our desire using our imagination and energetically at the subconscious level. And then we want to begin living in that imagination and the fulfillment of the desire through the feeling that we create through imagination. Now, when we do that practice, which is subconscious conviction, we want to be able to create a certain relationship with the 3D physical world, because in the 3D physical world, you will come across the lack always. So you want to create a sense of trust to be able to drop yourself into that energy of subconscious conviction and stay in that energy, and to not let the outside lack interfere. Because many people believe and want to practice manifestation, but I see getting drifted and falling off track by allowing the outside lack to impact the fulfillment of the desire, right? If you believe fully your power to manifest, because you are a spiritual being, and when you're a spiritual being, it means that you're part of the infinite intelligence, right? So then when we are living in this 3D physical world and when we entertain our thoughts, we want to be able to focus on what we already have and feel grateful. So we entertain our expansive, empowering, positive thoughts. And then when we come across lack, we don't entertain that using our thinking, but suspend it and go to our imagination so we can think and feel as if we are already there. So we are always internally in the future state of what's gonna come appear in the outside. That is to be the creator always, to be the cause of it, right? Another way to look at it is that we want to keep the outside world as an effect always. No, never let the outside become the cause of our inside feeling. Yeah, let me say that again. We never want to let the outside external environment become the cause of our inside feeling. The moment we do that, our role shift from being the creator to being the createe. We're now being created, the inside experience in being created by the outside environment. And if you are new to this, we want to practice this, right? So to have a certain relationship with the outside and go to the imagination. So positive thoughts, now that you know and understand that even the thoughts changes the molecular crystal structure of the water inside of us, it becomes a magnet to attract what feels expansive, right? Every single time when you think positive, empowering thoughts, you feel expansive. And I want you to almost explore how that expansion, how that expansive feeling feels in your body. And then begin testing, okay, I'm thinking this, and then I'm feeling this. I'm thinking this, and I'm feeling this. And always look for thoughts that gives you the sense of expansion in your body. Because the more you stay in that expansion, the more you are aligned with the natural state, the essence of who you are. The soul is forever seeking an awareness of oneness with God. The soul is forever seeking its awareness of oneness with the universe, the infinite intelligence. And the urge of the soul is seeking fuller expression. So the nature of wanting to expand, wanting to increase, wanting to feel more expansion is the very essence, the characteristic of the soul. So when you feel expansive, using positive thoughts, empowering thinking, you are aligning the mind, the fourth dimension, to the very essence of spiritual characteristic, who we are. And then we want to use this 3D physical world as a playground. I love that terminology. This is a playground. We're playing with the mind, we're playing with the body to be able to sustain our role as a creator. If you become the createe, you cannot be the creator. If you become the effect of the outside, you can never be the cause of it. So by navigating our mind and understanding the relationship with the 3D playground, 4D psycho-emotion, the dimension of the mind, and the 5D spiritual plane, we want to be able to navigate our energy inside and outside to manipulate and guide and direct. So we use, it's almost like playing music, right? You are the conduct of the energetic music that you're playing to be able to bring the environment that's congruent with the desire by being the creator. So I hope that gave you a different perspective and an angle of positive thoughts. Thoughts are potent, words are powerful, and this is something that is God-given. We were gifted by the God universal intelligence to be able to use this to play that energetic music to be the creator. And when we begin understanding that and embodying that practice on a day-to-day basis, life becomes so much fun because you're constantly in this moment of maneuvering through different obstacles. Obstacles is the path. They do not block the path, but obstacles, they are the path. But then, as long as you're in this, the energetic music that you're playing, as long as you're in the conduct role, you're gonna be able to maneuver and play and have fun to constantly experiencing expansion. And then we'll see what happens. The surrounding is gonna just meet how you feel lifted, how you feel excited, how you feel inspired with everything that you are, everything that you do, and everything that you are going to have. Be first and do from that place, and having will be attracted towards you. I hope that helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.